guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and this will be my very first video on YouTube. This will be a behind the scenes / tutorial on how I made my birthday dress. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out our pattern. I went and got this printed at Staples at full size, and if you guys want the link to the pattern, I will put it in the description box. And the pattern that we're going to be using causes for a non-stretch material, so this is the fabric that we're going to be using. It is a beautiful turquoise liquid satin fabric, and I love this fabric so much. It's so pretty. And so now this is me cutting out the circle skirt portion of the pattern. So I am using a circle skirt template that I bought from Karen M. If you know her, she has the best patterns. This is me cutting out the top part of the circle. So you would take your measurements and you would get the circumference of what you need to cut out for the circle portion or the waist part of your skirt. The length of my skirt ended up being about 19 or 20, which I could have added a couple of extra inches to the back portion for the girlies who are a little bit curvier in the back. You will need to add a couple of extra inches for coverage, but mine was about 19 to 20. So this is me just marking out where I want to cut, and then I put a pin in the floor to kind of like move my measuring tape around and mark where I needed to mark as far as cutting, so that I could be as precise as I could when I actually start cutting out the circle skirt, because you measure twice, cut once. We don't want to cut the wrong thing and have to redo it. So now that we have cut out our circle skirt, we're going to open it up, and you should have a full circle skirt. So when you cut out your circle skirt, I skipped this part. I didn't record it. I'm so sorry. But you want to fold your fabric right sides facing, but you want to sandwich it and fold it to where you have 4 layers. So when you cut out the circle skirt, you will have a full circle. If you guys want me to make another video of how to do that, I will do that. Just put it in the comments. And this is me just cutting open the back part, so when I install my zipper. And this is what I mean when I say fold it in 4, so that when you open it, you will have an entire full circle skirt. There are other ways to cut out. You can do a half circle or you can do a whole circle, but I cut mine out as a full circle. And now that we have our circle skirt cut out, we are going to just test it and make sure that it fits around the waist and you have enough, seam allowance. I did add an extra couple of inches because this was my first time working with non-stretch fabric, and I was a little nervous, but it came out perfectly, except for like what I said earlier, adding an extra couple of inches to the back of the skirt for coverage for my back area. These are the pattern pieces when they are all cut out and ready to be sewn together. With right sides facing, you will sew where I am pointing to, and you will leave the bottom portion of the top open. So let's sew down both sides. And this is what you will have once you have sewn both sides down and flipped it inside out so that the right sides are facing, or the right sides are showing. And then you want to get your steamer or your iron and iron down the seams so that it can look seamless. And once you are done steaming or ironing everything, I did not record this part and I'm so sorry. I promise I'm going to do better at recording these tutorials, but I'm going to explain what I did. So where you see the pins are, the strap pieces are attached to the waist pieces right sides facing. So where you see the pins is where you will sew the straps and the waistband together. And then once you sew down the part where you see the pins, then you're going to flip over the waistband and you're going to top stitch it. What it will look like once you flip over what you have sewn in the previous step, and you're going to put a top stitch across the entire portion of your straps and your waistband so that it can be flat. And we're gonna sew this part together and then I'll show you what it looks like after. And you do want to take your time when you're doing your top stitch because you want the top stitch to be very seamless. You want it to be straight. So you don't have to rush through this. Just take your time and make sure that you're sewing a straight line. And I changed the angle because I wanted you guys to get a better look at what the top stitch looks like. This is what it should look like once you finish top stitching. Very seamless, very straight. That's why I said you want to take your time when you're doing a top stitch. And also with my straps, I pleated them just because that was the look that I was going for. You do not have to do that. Now moving on to the circle skirt, I have pinned, and where my finger is tracing is where you will sew the circle skirt to the waistband. It is just pinned together now, but I wanted to show you what it would look like once you sew it together. So now we are going to take this to the sewing machine and sew it together. Now, once you finish sewing the circle skirt to the waistband, this is what it should look like. And you want to make sure that you go back and you iron down the waistband seams, check for any little threads, snip those off, just doing like a quality check. But once you sew the circle skirt to the waistband, this is what you should have so far. And you're pretty much done, but you just want to make sure that you seal the ends of your garment, because when you cut satin, it frays really bad. So you want to make sure that you are sealing the ends of those. You can use a fabric tack, but I just chose to use a lighter to seal the ends, but you have to be very careful to make sure that you're not burning your garment. So you would literally just move the fire back and forth to seal the ends so that it doesn't fray. And this is me just doing exactly that. I'm not holding the fire still at any point, because if you do, you are going to burn your fabric and you don't want to do that, because at this point you are done. You do not want to have to seam rip anything, make another circle skirt or anything like that. So you want to be super careful if you use a lighter. I know most people probably don't. There are other ways, but this is just the way that I chose to do it. And now we're going to install our zipper. I'm using an invisible zipper foot. This was actually the first time I actually installed an invisible zipper. And it wasn't that hard. They actually have instructions on the package, which I kind of followed, and I watched a YouTube video for that. And now this is just me trying it on once I have the zipper in. I wasn't too sure about what I wanted to do to the straps because I should have shortened them. But this is me on the day of my birthday weekend, and I think the dress came out pretty good. And if you think that I did a good job with making this dress, just leave a comment below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn those notifications on so that you can get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you for watching.